Hello, computer literacy students. I want to give you some tips on your first web design project. So after you did that two-page tutorial, you're starting to get an understanding of the structure of HTML, and then style we can add to that structure. So here we're going to take it a little farther by creating a 6-page website with images on each page. The tough thing about web design is 1, design, and 2, content. So the content is going to come from a book. So let's take a look at the project. What you're going to do is you're going to make a book website based on a public domain book. So copyright means somebody owns it. Something enters the public domain for 2 reasons. 1, copyright is expired, or they created something and made it public domain instead of copyright. And people can do that. Typically books are going to be public domain because their copyright is expired. So you'll have to go out and search. Some places that you can find public domain books, if you just search for public domain books, you'll get to some sites. Here's some books about public domain. Gutenberg Library is a good one. There's a bunch of other ones out there. You can search Google for public domain books also. For example, I found a book on Einstein's theories of relativity that was public domain. On the Gutenberg Library, you can search their catalog by subject. You can search for words, like maybe you saw that recent Tarzan movie, and you want to see if Tarzan of the Apes is public domain. Hey, it turns out it is. So you could use that. Maybe there's some other book you're interested in. So you can play around. For example, here I can go to book categories. Under book categories, I could look up, say, animals, science bookshelf. What else do we have? Fiction bookshelf. I like fiction. Detective fiction, maybe. Edgar Allan Poe wrote some great stuff. And then you could take a look at Murders in the Rue Morgue. I remember that one. So here they list an HTML version of the book. HTML is nice because they have links, and then they have text that you can copy and paste in. So what's going to happen is you're going to create a title page, and that title page is going to have the name of the book and who wrote it, some kind of relevant header image that's going to appear on the top of every page, and then a list of a few chapters and links out to those chapters. The chapter pages will have that same top, and they'll have some other relevant picture and a couple of paragraphs from that chapter. So there's my chapter 1 page, here's my chapter 2 page. The images, some of them should float left, some could float right, some could be centered. And then you'll have a little navigation bar at the bottom for a table of contents. So here is an example, one I made last year after I read a little bit about Einstein's theories of relativities from a public domain book that was originally published by Scientific American. And so where did that go? Right here. Let's go back here. Link. Yeah, okay. So here's the website I made. So each of my pages is going to have the same top. So if I go to chapter 1, notice it's the same top. Now I grabbed, in some cases, more than a few paragraphs. All my pages are going to have the same bottom too. So no matter which page I go to, oops, I have a broken image. Fix that. Here I get a little crazy with the paragraphs. I have the same bottom on each one also. So you can take a look at this site. If you want to see how I did something, you can just right-click on it and inspect, and then you'll get to see the code I used and the style I used to make it happen. So feel free to poke around there and check it out. I made another site recently too about Tarzan of the Apes. So let's take a look at that one. This one's a little simpler. I have my header image inside of a box. I can show you how to do boxes like this next week. And so each page should look the same top and same bottom, although it looks like I didn't finish editing my bottom here. So this page is a work in progress. And so what we want to be able to do, I guess I haven't finished this one yet. I want to have a footer in there, kind of like the Einstein page does, so I can get back to the home page from any other page or to get to the other pages. So I'm just going to outline how to get this started. You'll definitely want to read through the project description so you'll know all of the requirements here. There's actually not a lot of them. It's pretty straightforward. It's just you got to start doing some work to make it happen. So one thing that's important about the book, when you do find a book that you like, you'll have to find a copy of it so that you can highlight and copy text from that. Sometimes, for example, let's see, in the Einstein book here, if I go back to the home page, a Google search led me to this PDF version. But the problem with this PDF version is I can't highlight the text. It just lets me grab it. Often when you find a book that is available online, somewhere on the page there'll be options to get it in other formats. Like there's a plain text version here. And if I go into the plain text version, eventually I can find some pages for which I can highlight and copy material and then paste it into my HTML pages. So for the HTML pages, recall that there's a way to get pages started. So there's the starting a basic web page tutorial. And we've got this template for how we set up HTML pages. So you can copy that to get started. New page, drop that in, save it into an appropriate location. For example, here when you save it, you're going to want to make a folder called book site somewhere. And inside that folder, all of your files will live. So here I've got one started with an index and a chapter 1 and an image, and I'll explain the template. So here's the start of my index page. You should have some kind of relevant title. I'm going to call this Tarzan of the Apes. Tarzan. So that's going to appear in the browser tab. And then in the body is where all your content goes. So you want a title there. I grabbed an image from Pixabay. So grab images wherever you like. Even though this one is public domain, I definitely want to grab the address where I got it from so I can put in a title attribute sharing it. So for example, here, I need to add my title attributes where I can state the copyright status. In this case, that's public domain. Sometimes you'll find images on Flickr that are Creative Commons licensed, and you'll have to state the Creative Commons license here instead of public domain, and then the address where you got it. Another thing I'm missing here is an alt attribute for screen readers. Alt equals, and then I can just say jungle path picture maybe. Jungle path picture is what I downloaded. And then I might need to resize it. If the image is too big, you want to resize it in something like Pixlr. You should indicate the author and then where you found it at. And then a brief description of the book, followed by a table of contents with links out to those chapters. So I'll go through setting that up. And then at the bottom, a footer is like a paragraph. It's just called a footer. So I'm putting in a paragraph called a footer at the bottom. And in there, I'll have a link to the home page. I'll have a link to chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on. So that's going to be navigation. So my recollection is build your index, put all your styles in there and make it pretty. So for example, style equals, maybe I want background color to be some kind of green. Color, colon, green. And then if I have green background, black text might look all right. Let's go with that for now and see what it looks like. Save it and run it in your favorite browser. Okay, so my image is a little too big. I'm going to need to crop it down in Pixlr. So let's do that quick. That's way too big for a header image. And from my computer, in my book website. And I want to crop it, and let's say I'll just freeform it. So actually, no, I'm going to constrain it to an output size. How about 900 by 200 maybe? So I can grab a chunk of this. Let's say that chunk right there. Actually, maybe I want Tarzan in there. All right, how about that chunk right there can be my header. When you crop something or edit it, you should change the name. So let's save that sucker. JPEG is fine. And I'll say it's going to be now called Jungle. And not all images you can edit that. You got to check the copyright notice. Some CC licenses don't let you change it. Some do. So this is Jungle 900 by 200. And save it to my computer. So now I'll have to replace that image since I've edited it with the proper name. Jungle 900 by 200. And if it doesn't appear right, that means I probably mistyped it. Save it, reload it. That's better. Okay, so Tarzan of the Apes, Edgar Rice Burroughs. And so then, so I'm starting to get this set up. Once I get the top the way I want it, and I get the colors the way I want them, and I get the bottom the way I want it, I'm going to turn that into a template. So I still have some more work to do, but I'm just going to make believe I'm done. Once I think that's good, then I'm going to do, on the index, I'm going to do a save as and call it my template. And so I'm going to have a slightly different version of it here. Close the template for now, and we do that, file, save as, and we're going to call it template. Now you won't have one there, so you're not going to have to worry about replacing it. As far as the template goes, I want the same top, and I want the same bottom, but the stuff in the middle can change. So all of this stuff, the paragraph, say new content goes here, content goes here. And then each page is going to have some kind of title. So maybe I'll want a place for that. If Tarzan is H1, the title is going to be like an H2 or an H3. So title for this particular page, /H2. All right, so this is my template. The way you're going to use the template is once you find your book online somewhere, so there's Gutenberg book. Let's see, I want to go back and find Tarzan. I thought I already had it somewhere. Nope. Nope. Oh, there it is. Okay. So here's my Tarzan book. You could either use the plain text or the HTML. I'm going to go with the plain text version. And then I just want to grab a few chapters. Let's say I already have a chapter 1. Let's go find chapter 2. The HTML versions link to the chapters. Text pages usually don't. So maybe I'm going to grab the first 4 chapters. And then I'm going to paste that into my template. So I open up my template. I grab my new content, paste it in where it needs to go, and then I do a save as again. And this time I'm going to call it chapter 2. And it's going to keep repeating that. 2.html, making sure that it's in the right location, it's got the right name, and it's the right kind of file. And then, for example, chapter 2 is going to be my title. And this could be the subtitle. H3 on that one. Always double check that you close stuff, and then the new content goes here. So each of these other lines needs a paragraph tag, and I like to put blank lines in between to make it more readable. Oops. So I want to add my p tags all over. So don't start building your pages, your chapters, until you've decided on how your front page is going to look. Then you can use that as a template, so you don't have to redo all of that stuff at the top of each page and all that stuff on the bottom of each page. Way less copy and pasting and so on. And so if I save my chapter 2 here, and I go and view it, it's going to look like my other pages, it's just going to have different stuff in the middle. So your challenges are twofold. One, you got to go find a book. Once you find a book, you need to then start building your index page. Get that set up all pretty the way you want it with colors and styles. If you forgot how to do stuff, then you're going to go back to the tutorial pages in the modules. And so the main place you're going to go is web page design. So for example, if you want to know how to do more with colors, if you want to know how to do more formatting, if you want to play with styles, blocks is pretty cool stuff. What else? Images. So if you forgot how to do things, you're going to need to go to these to learn how to do it. CSS has some really great stuff. So get this started, do as much as you can this weekend, and then I'll help you make your sites prettier on our next class. So have fun with this, do good work. I will see you all soon.